Let me ask you all a question. Who do you think would win between the calamity of the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, Sukuna, and the world's strongest creature, Kaido? This question has been in the back of my head for quite a while, and in today's video, I'll be answering it. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment to help support me and the channel. I'd really appreciate it. And with all that being said, let's get started with Sukuna scaling. Now, I'm just going to be 100% honest here. Almost all versions of Sukuna get wrecked pretty badly against Kaido. One Finger Sukuna is just laughably underpowered for this matchup. 3 Finger Sukuna is the exact same. 15 Finger Sukuna, while being a huge step up from the previous two, is still really inferior to Kaido in this matchup. 15 Finger Maguna is also the same. And 20 Finger Maguna is also lacking, but I will address some stuff with him later in the video. The form of Sukuna that I'll be using in this video will be True Form Sukuna, as he's obviously the strongest version of him and has some interesting arguments against Kaido that I would like to go over. So to begin, Sukuna was stated to be able to destroy the entire world at his full power. But when looking at the average power level of the verse, it's pretty easy to dismiss this statement as meaning Sukuna actually being able to destroy the earth in a single attack, since he doesn't really have the moveset or even the power to actually do such a thing. Many people do agree though that this statement is most likely saying that he can destroy all of civilization, which could be backed up since Sukuna for one isn't actually trying to destroy the world, but instead just likes to kill people and eat them in his free time. And even his fellow strongest, Satoru Gojo, also doesn't display feats of planetary levels, and the one feat that could be planetary, which is Yuki's black hole, is actually not, as it was not only being suppressed by her will and Tengen's barrier, but Gojo also has no scaling to it. Sukuna's AP is more comfortably around the mountain to island levels of power, through scaling above Jogo and Dagon, with Jogo creating a mountain-sized domain and Dagon creating an island-sized one, and anything higher than this is probably wank. And now I'll talk about his speed. And it's in this department that he's actually pretty interesting to discuss. For one, it's arguable that True Form Sukuna has light speed scaling when using his feat of dodging an attack from cursed technique Kashimo. The narrator states that while Kashimo is using this ability, he's able to utilize electromagnetic waves. These waves are said to move at the speed of light, but only within a vacuum, which means that if they're on Earth, for example, because it has an atmosphere, these waves would not be able to move at the speed of light, and would make them invalid as a feat. However, we can scale Sukuna dodging out of the way of one of Kashimo's attacks, and we get a calc of Sukuna moving at around FTL speeds in order to dodge. And this is a heavily injured post-Gojo fight Sukuna, and when he regains his true form, he should be at 100% power, which would then allow him to somewhat upscale from this feat, comfortably placing him at the lowest, relativistic, to at his highest, FTL for speed. And when talking about his hacks and abilities, Sukuna has access to both his cleave and dismantle. His dismantle ability is a default slash that can attack the opponent, but can further be enhanced to slash or cut the world itself. Although Kusakabe theorized that in order for Sukuna to do the world cutting slash, he needs to either make a binding vow or charge it up. So under normal circumstances, he can't just spam the ability. And then he also has his cleave ability, which can adjust itself to the opponent's durability and energy output to basically one-shot them. Then there's his fire ability that he showcased against Jogo during Shibuya, but Kusakabe also theorizes that Sukuna can't use that at the moment either, which is also pretty important. He can also use his extra mouth and 2 hands to make chants and use hand signs to further increase the power of his attacks, which aren't anything to scoff at. And then there's his domain expansion Malevolent Shrine, which is essentially a flurry of instantly attacking non-avoidable slashes that can pretty much one-shot the opponent. Then there's his cursed tool, Supreme Martial Solution, and this cursed tool lets Sukuna just use electricity and fire it off at people and whatnot. Then there's also the 10 Shadows technique, and I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure if Sukuna is still able to use it or not. Mahoraga was completely destroyed by Gojo's Hollow Purple, and since then Sukuna hasn't used a single summoning of the 10 Shadows, not even when fighting Kashimo while he was weakened before transforming. And even after he transformed, he's only really been using his own abilities. So unless we get direct confirmation that Sukuna still has access to the 10 Shadows, I'll just be going with the assumption that he can't use it anymore due to the reasons I just gave. And that's all of Sukuna's scaling covered, so now it's time to talk about One Piece's world's strongest creature, Kaido. Now, the very first thing I want to address with Kaido is that his title isn't just referring to how strong he is, but is actually also in reference to his insane durability and endurance. In Kaido's Viva card, it notes how Kaido is not only an insanely powerful individual, but also has unmatched vitality, which means that it will take a lot of power and effort for someone to actually defeat him in combat. And Kaido being the world's strongest creature doesn't make him the strongest character in One Piece, as creatures are said to be distinct and different from human beings. So for all my One Piece fans that are watching right now, please don't try and say that. But back to scaling Kaido, in terms of his AP, we can scale him to the likes of Whitebeard, who was said various different times to be able to destroy the One Piece world. This was stated by Sengoku himself during Marineford, and in one of the One Piece databooks as well. And another databook that also says that Whitebeard can tilt the planet with his devil fruit. And because all of the Yonko are said to not only be the 4 strongest pirates in the world, but are also all somewhat relative to each other in power, this would mean that Kaido, especially in his dragon form and his hybrid form, which was stated to be even stronger and faster than his base and his dragon form, should be around the multi-continental to planetary levels of power. If you still don't think that he's at these ranges, then you could also scale Kaido to Luffy's God Pistol or Bajring Gun, which he was able to clash with before losing, which was calculated around continental to multi-continental AP. So this range or level of power is at least consistent during this time of the story. But now that we figured out how strong Kaido is, how fast is he? Well, he scales above Kizaru, who has the Pika Pika no Mi, or the Light Devil Fruit, and was stated many times to let him move and attack at light speeds, and can even further accelerate his speed as well. He can fire off lasers that are shown to work similarly, if not exactly like real world lasers, which also supports him attacking at light speeds. And Kaido was also said to not be inferior to the admirals, and this should be encompassing all stats as well, meaning that Kaido is within the same tier of power and speed as Kizaru. And with Kaido's hybrid transformation, which increases all of his stats further than his base, then this should definitely put him in those FTL to possibly FTL plus ranges of speed. And although Kaido's haki was depleting during his fight with Luffy on Rooftop, he was also getting stronger and faster as well due to Haki Bloom, so you could also probably argue this further increasing his speed. And when it comes to his hacks and abilities, the first thing to cover is his Devil Fruit. He has a Dragon Devil Fruit, and this allows him to turn into a huge dragon and become a natural disaster. In One Piece Magazine issue 13, it states that Kaido can use fire, lightning, and wind abilities while in this form, and his attacks are so large in scale that he is, as I said before, a natural disaster. He can then transform into his hybrid form, which gives him both the appearance of his base and his dragon form together, and this is said to be even stronger than his dragon form. Then on top of that, Kaido also has access to all forms of haki. He can use base and advanced armament haki, with the base strengthening all of his attacks and giving him black defensive armor to defend against attacks, and advanced armament haki, which allows Kaido to attack his opponent from the inside out, giving him durability negation. He then has base and advanced observation haki, and the base version lets Kaido sharpen all 5 of his senses to their peak and predict his opponent's movements. And the advanced form of this allows Kaido to straight up see into the future. Then there's his base and advanced Conqueror's haki, and the base version just lets him flex his willpower on people, and if they're weaker than Kaido himself or have weak wills, then they will instantly pass out and go unconscious. And the advanced version of this lets Kaido attack his opponents without physically touching them. And I know this isn't a hack or ability, but I do want to point this out anyway since this is pretty important for the battle. But Kaido has extreme amounts of durability and endurance. Like, no joke, the only way to damage Kaido at all is to use advanced forms of haki on him in the story of One Piece. Like, imagine if there was a character in Jujutsu Kaisen where the only way to damage them was through the use of black flashes. I'm not saying that the two situations are similar or haki and black flashes work the same. I'm just trying to give you guys a general idea of how durable Kaido is. He fought non-stop on Rooftop against many different opponents and had no breaks at all, and his haki was constantly depleting despite him also getting slowly stronger over time, and he was still standing. I'm trying to stress to you all that Sukuna is going to have to put in a lot of work and a lot of effort to try and take down Kaido, because this man is, as his Viva card stated, has unmatched vitality, which makes him nearly unbeatable in a battle. And so with everything laid out, who would win between the King of Curses, Ryomen Sukuna, and the world's strongest creature, Kaido? Let's find out. Now, right off the bat, if you're using lower end scaling, then Sukuna is around the town levels to island levels of power, and Kaido is around continental. This is not good for Sukuna, as this means that he has no way of actually damaging Kaido through conventional means. But if you believe the statement of Sukuna being able to destroy the world, and you think that this actually means the world itself, then you could have a pretty interesting fight. Sukuna and Kaido have equal or near equal levels of speed, so they'd both be able to keep up with each other, and if you're using multi-continental or planetary Sukuna, then this battle will come down to hacks and abilities. Sukuna's world-cutting dismantle slash is implied to only be activated through a binding vow or a charge of some sort, and we aren't sure just what that is yet or how long it would take for him to do so. So Sukuna would have to resort to his regular dismantle or cleave, which can adjust itself to the opponent's energy levels and their durability to one-shot them. Now, this can actually go one of two ways. The first is that Kaido would just tank the one-shotting slash because of his showings of durability and endurance during Rooftop. Keep in mind, guys, that Luffy was using advanced armament haki on Kaido, which lets you attack the opponent from the inside out. This means that for pretty much the entire fight of Rooftop with Luffy, Kaido was constantly getting hit by attacks that were damaging and attacking his internal organs, and he still kept fighting and didn't go down until much later. Or the second being that Kaido would instantly die from the slash, since it's adjusting itself to the current Kaido and is guaranteed to one-shot no matter what. But this isn't true because, as I said, Kaido was getting hit non-stop by durability negating attacks, and he was still fighting Luffy. He didn't go down at all until the very end, where he clashed with Luffy's God Pistol, and that was a clash of haki. This means that in terms of durability and endurance, Kaido would just outlast Sukuna extremely badly, and Sukuna's curse tool won't even affect Kaido, and possibly even his domain expansion not work, as Kaido is literally just tanky enough to just walk through it like how Maharaga did in the anime of JJK. Not to mention that Kaido has his hybrid and dragon form. His dragon form can literally summon tornadoes and thunderstorms and is a natural disaster, and his hybrid form is even stronger, faster, and more durable than his base. Not to mention that Kaido can straight up predict and see into the future, further enhance his strength and durability with armament haki, attack Sukuna from the inside out with advanced armament haki, and either flex his Conqueror's haki to possibly knock Sukuna unconscious, or use advanced Conqueror's haki to attack him without even physically touching him. Overall, this battle isn't close, and Sukuna gets completely destroyed by Kaido. Thank you all for watching the video, and please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. You'd be helping both me and the channel out a lot. And if you want to see more JJK videos, then check out my Kenjaku versus Makima video. Or if you want to see another One Piece video, then you could check out my Luffy versus Boros video that's on screen right now. Or if you would like to watch my last video before this one, then check out my Black Frieza versus Beerus video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.